Um, Hello, everyone. Um, I don't know if you can hear me. This is the first time I do a live on YouTube. I'm still discovering the platform itself. Um, so yeah. So hello, you can hear me. Please confirm that you can hear me. I also I've never used a laptop before. I usually just use my phone, and this is not even my laptop because I had problems with my own laptop, so I borrowed the laptop from my roommate. And yeah, I don't know if everything's working fine. Actually, no, it's not a new background. It's still pretty much my room, which I really love. But this is the first time you get a horizontal, um, yeah, format. So, okay. I don't know if we'll be waiting for more people to join. Maybe give it some time, or because I would prefer to, since this is very specific live. Since this is a very specific live, since we're gonna talk about a movie, it would be better to have like stream of thoughts kind of things. Just start from the beginning, and it would be better to have everyone join from the beginning. So yeah. Hey, Salma. I mean, as long as we get the regular people who are usually so. I don't know if there is anyone new, but there is like a little club of usually like around 5-6 people who join. And as long I think that we have those because they were the people who decided to have this movie analysis session. So I can start. You can begin with talking about the recent stuff you've watched. Well, honestly, I haven't seen that much. I've been struggling with my essays. And then, well, I'm done finally. The recent stuff I've seen, I am currently watching the TV series Hollywood. Even though the concept behind it is really nice, and the idea of talking about Hollywood back at the 50s is really important, but I really feel that like they played it really pretty much safe, and they didn't want to really go beyond. And I don't know, like there wasn't really real Hollywood criticism system, like Hollywood system criticism, which makes it a little bit. So I hope it's gonna get better. I'm only at the 5th episode, and yeah, it's a Ryan Murphy show. It's a TV series. I don't know. It's I don't know Ryan Murphy. Let me look things up. It's just it popped up as suggestion, and it was like I read the synopsis, and it says that it was like about Hollywood and struggling actors and struggling directors, and I was like, yes, I can watch that. I can relate to that. But then, yeah, it's not real enough so far. So do I recommend it as a TV series? Yeah, sure, but it's not something that deep or that important. So let me look it up. Hollywood Netflix. It's a Netflix show. And yeah, Ryan Murphy. Yeah. The same who worked on looked it up already. Yeah, Glee, and yeah, you get that sense of Glee and Pose, especially. Yeah. I hope it gets better with time. What else? About movies, I still haven't seen that much. I mean, yeah, I don't think I've seen something special since our last conversation. I did my homework. Sadly, I don't have the list here. I have it on my own laptop. I'm using my roommate's laptop. Probably she's gonna pop anytime, say hi. That's her thing. And yeah, so if I'm to see. Oh yeah, so you guys recommended Room 2009, 2019. I did see that. I didn't really like it. It felt too fake, and it really felt too under the horror cliche for me. So yeah, I wasn't like I pretty much knew what's gonna happen from the beginning. So I don't really like it. She's probably waiting for the right moment. No, she doesn't wait for the right moment. If you're talking about my roommate, she doesn't wait for the right moment. It's just like she just comments like unpredictable, which I really love. So, otherwise, I've seen Chained for Life. It is very interesting movie. Very, very, very interesting movie. Chained for Life. Yeah, 2019 also. It is something like very new in format, and like when I say format, it's just not format but form in the way the story is told. So yeah, I do recommend that, and thank you for recommending it. I really enjoyed it. It was kind of disturbing and weird, and I didn't know how to feel about it in the beginning, but at the very end I got that satisfaction of watching a good movie. So, and also I watched La Vie en Rose, which is the biography of Edith Piaf, and I really think it's really nice too. I like biographies when they're done right. I think it's done right in the fact that like artistically it's very beautiful. It's not just about the biography, it's about really about the character and about the directing, and yeah, it's a full movie that you can watch and relate to, something like, you know, Les Miserables, but an actual story. Yeah, I think it's an interesting story to watch and to follow about a person who really existed and suffered in the world. So I remember the movie you should watch, which is Climax. That sounds familiar though. Climax. Why does it sound familiar? Oh, it's Gaspar Noé. Do you mean the Gaspar Noé movie? Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to push myself into watching Gaspar Noé films, but I'm not quite there yet. I really don't like the guy, and I know it's bad being a cinema student in that sense, or cinema fan, but yeah, I need to just push myself, I guess. I've seen Irreversible, and I was like, so I know that like he has very beautiful visuals, and I'm gonna get to that. I promise. But I need some time for it, probably. I'm sorry for that. Other than that, before actually talking about adaptation, I read a very interesting essay, and I would like to have your opinion about it. It is about smart films. Apparently, there is something that is called smart films. I didn't know that before, and I'd say pretty much our film goes under that category. Smart films are like the films that, it's like either you get it or you don't get it, and they have how to say, a tone of nihilism in it a little bit, and irony and sarcasm mostly. And it is something that appeared during the mostly peaked during the 80s and the 90s. So there is this essay about it. I didn't know it was a thing, but it was something that, especially in the 90s, people who consider themselves smart would watch the film, and there are two categories of people who would just watch film just for the entertainment, and people who would watch those smart films and be like, yeah, I got it. And the other person is like, I don't know, or something like that. And it's just it's done for a very specific, ironic or sarcastic, in a way, audience. So maybe you guys can look that up. It's very interesting as a concept. It's a meta movie. You're talking about Climax, right? Well, it's good to know. I like meta movies. So okay, you just gave me one more reason to watch it soon. Thank you. Is it me or there is a delay between audio and video? Oh, I hope it's better for you, Tara. Don't we pretend to do that in Tunisia? Do you mean about... Okay, I don't know the delay, because usually on Instagram, the delay between what you guys write and what I'm saying is quite long. So I go back a bit, more. Maybe it's you guys are just writing at the same time. 10 seconds. Perfect. That helps actually with the conversation, since we don't have that much of people here. So it's better to have something really at the same time. Don't we pretend to do that in Tunisia? Are you talking about smart films? It's actually more than that. It's not just about people who are getting something that is really deep or experimental. That's in that sense. If you are to watch something, I recommend to watch. Oh God, what was the name? I just watched it. Total blackout. Total blackout. I'm sorry. Well, it's just something that has really an undertone of some jokes that only people with high taste kind of thing get, but not high taste in the sense that still high taste in the sense of popular culture, not high taste in the sense of high art or cultural kind of background or something like that. It's just Ghost World. Ghost World is one of those smart films. If you want to watch it, it's interesting. There's Scarlett Johansson in it. It's goes a bit back. It's 2001, Ghost World, and it's one of those films. It's one of those smart films. Are those sticky notes on the wall? Yeah, there are some sweet messages that I received, so I have them there with my protective dream catchers. I'm a bit superstitious in that sense. I want to be surrounded by positive energy. Well, and yeah, I just sit in my bed so much, so it feels kind of nice to have those. Okay, cool. Scarlett is in it, I guess. Yeah, she's quite young in it. So if you've seen the film, there are like those smart jokes that, like, for example, one of the characters would talk about how punk is dead, but at the same time, there are also those ideas of like people who would not really understand jazz and think that some commercial things are jazz because uh, they do present themselves as jazz, but the actual jazz is more like this and this and this. But these are like very undertone under the character messages. So it's really I really like that. I didn't know, especially like the as I said, the sarcastic tone of the film. So you know that like that one thing that would go like kind of a smart person would be like, "Ah, yeah, I got your joke there," kind of thing. So it is kind of, it's not about smart, but it's about having a community of pop culture people just um, understanding each other's jokes. So yeah, Rick and Morty, for example, is something smart. It is like just that. Rick and Morty is smart TV series, not film in that sense, because it's all about that in a way. Kind of like Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I have that. I haven't seen it yet. It's called Pilgrim versus the World. I have it. I feel like I need to watch it. For some reason, it keeps popping up, and the characters seem interesting. So, whereas in the pop culture, you should watch Daria. Then, no, that's a smart character for those who season. Yeah, I heard that as well. I would definitely give it a try. So I'm gonna write stuff. Mhm. Yeah, I do like stuff about so long and thanks for the fish. Would be another smart one. What's the name? Is that the name? So long and thanks for the fish. It's just two separate movies. Please elaborate so I can know. Yeah, there are a lot of those movies, and it's. I don't know what you guys think about it, but I'm really, I guess, because I'm studying for an academic master's, a research master's in that sense. So I come across a lot of essays and academic stuff, and and there is this tendency usually of separating high art and really look at pop culture as something that is a parasite to the world of art. It is a very old tradition, actually, that is supposed to actually disappear. But since pop art is usually made in the sense that, like, it is made to feed the capitalist system, in that sense that, like, there are things that are made for entertainment just to make money for productions, which is true. It's not good quality. It's not art. But I really think that pop art has way more things to give than high art, personally. Like, if you master to make something that is pop art, reach a lot of people, but at the same time have a very nice message, not message like moralistic message or something. We don't do that anymore, but a message of like that can make their taste better in that sense. So entertain them and give them something good. I think that would be really nice. And this is actually one of the points that I want to talk about the movie adaptation. So we're gonna go back to that. Yeah. Yeah, the name is so long, and thanks for all the fish. Okay, I'm gonna add that to my list. Thank you, Ali. So long. Yeah, I'm using an old pen and paper here. Oh my god. And thanks. Thank you guys for all your suggestions, by the way. It is really nice to have suggestions from you. At least I know that I'm gonna see. Here she comes. Go.
Wow, you're on YouTube.
I'm on YouTube.
Yay! It's my first
Like
time
I have
on
8
YouTube.
people watching right now.
Hey, 8 people!
This is Naz, in case you don't know her.
Yeah.
This is my roommate who donated the laptop today. So I can do this.
Actually, I want my laptop back.
Oh, just
Ali!
So, yeah.
Hey!
My sister.
Oh, yeah! Which one?
The older one.
The older one.
The second
favorite one.
No, it's just okay. That was all live. Okay. So, yeah, we're talking about adaptation.
Yeah. This film was. What were you talking about?
Actually, we still didn't start. So I think we're gonna talk about the theme in general in the beginning, and maybe then talk more about the film and everything. Yeah. So we're gonna talk about the idea of the orchid and everything. And so, yeah. What do you think about the film?
What I think about the film? I don't know. It was a very weird film, though.
Yeah.
Like, and I cannot be objective because we read a lot about it. Like, so it's like there's a lot of things into my mind, but not really my own ideas and everything. So I need to distinguish which one is mine, which one is that I read about it. So it was, I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah. But you wrote about it.
Yeah, I wrote an essay about it. So I did. Yeah, it kind of broke my head what I was thinking, because it was like all stuff put really like together in a way that I was, if I'm to talk about that, I find something else more to talk about behind, and it was just, it was hard to untangle.
Because it's hard to analyze. You need to like consider two things, because there's like dual like narration in the film, so it's really hard.
Yeah. So we're gonna talk all about that. So Alina, stay.
Yeah, I need to go though.
Yes, if you're in screenplay. Yeah.
Okay.
So thank you for coming.
Yeah, enjoy. Maybe I will join later.
Okay.
Bye. Triple
narration, actually.
Yeah.
It's way more than that. I would say there's more layers. That's the thing. Like every time I want to think about one layer, I just find another layer behind, and I'm like, oh my god, I didn't actually consider that until I started writing. And it's just like, that will be like something. Have her with us. See? The audience demand.
Audience, I need to go to toilet, then I will join. I will join soon. Yeah. When you start, I'll come back.
Maybe you'll start your own life.
No. I'm a camera shy person.
So, thank you guys for the love. So let's talk about adaptation. Before talking about the screenplay, I want to establish something, because like I did that on my essay as well, and I want to do the same thing in here. So since there is the real Kaufman, the real screenwriter in the real life who did the real film, and there is Charlie Kaufman in the film, I would like to say that, like, so we don't get things mixed up, the real Kaufman would be Kaufman, and Kaufman character would be Charlie. So that in that sense, we can really distinguish between these two, and it can be nice. So we don't mix things together. So so the essay that I wrote, because this is like what I have the most in my head right now, is the meta idea. That was the idea. The title of my essay was meta cinema in adaptation in the film, and so that will be what I have the most in my head. But I will try to go with other ideas with you guys if you want to talk about something like just refresh my memory, because that's what I'm focused on right now, the meta idea, and how how it was, what is specific about this film as a meta film. So, okay. I want to, first of all, before starting anything, I really want to hear your opinion, guys. So that was a film that I suggested. What do you guys thought about it? Did you like it or not? First of all, that's like the first thing to say. Would it what struck the most in the film? How did you feel about it? What was interesting? What you would have changed? Well, since I assume that most of the people here already seen the film, and that's the whole idea of actually having this session, is that like we can go spoilers and stuff. I mean, it's still fine, I think, if people see it after this session as well, even though the plot twist kind of fall. But if you haven't seen the film beforehand and you're watching the session now, I think it can also kind of help you think about stuff as they're happening. So that can be good. Okay. It's like a Russian doll, you uncover something after another. Yes. And even more than that, I would even say that, like, when you look in the pattern on the Russian doll, you will find other Russian dolls, like, really painted inside in a way. It's like, it's really, really deep, but when you watch it, it's just like, it's so, on the surface it's normal, but there's like a lot of work done on the screenplay, and I love it. Haraya, well done. Thank you. Boy, what a plot twist. Yeah, we'll get to that. Tarek, I love it so much. Tarek, try to elaborate. What did you love? Why did you love it? And how do you think? Most of all, how do you think that the director or the writer or whoever you're going to talk about, the cinematographer, established or made you feel that? I think this is a cornerstone to analyzing films in general. To actually, this is kind of a tip to actually go beyond just stating your feelings and really analyzing. It goes, or reviewing. You need to kind of say, how do you think that happened to you, and what were the tools or the elements in the film that made you feel that way? So we can do that. And also, I would like to think about myself, like, in this as a host, since I can't have you guys like join me on video, but I still think of myself as a host. I will just be reading whatever you write and communicate. You guys communicate together, and I'll be the host in the whole thing. Welcome, communicating in English. Welcome. Welcome with us. That's my teacher. I shared with your video. Oh, hey. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Raya, for sharing your video with my What Cinema student. that was a pleasure. The idea behind it is that Selma sent me. She's taken a course about film analysis, I guess, and word cinema. And since I'm a cinema student, she asked me for a video to talk about globalized films. And it was my pleasure, whatever I can do to share my passion. It's really amazing for what she's doing. So first, love the fact it ties with the last movie made by Kaufman. Actually, yeah, that would be one of the first elements about the meta in the film. So the first shots we see are the actual footage, archive footage from the movie Malkovich, being John Malkovich, I guess is the name. And it's a film that is written by Kaufman. And that's like that screams, like that's the most what screams meta. If you have footage from an actual film. So beforehand, before going on about it, to define meta cinema is actually a very like big spectrum, in the sense that like it can go from it has two major elements. There is the meta films that actually talk about films or cinema in general. So you would have, for example, a film within a film that is considered as a meta film. So, for example, something that talks about the process of making of a film, or the idea of cinema in general. Like, for example, when you think about Cinema Paradiso, it's still a meta film in a way. And there is the meta film that is reflective of its own. So it's kind of makes you realize things about that specific film that you're watching. And there are meta films, that it's like Deadpool, for example, that breaks the fourth wall and keep reminding you that actually you're just watching a film, and it's interactive with its audience. So meta film generally is about cinema and films in general. Films that are reflective either on their own, towards their own selves, or cinema in general, or other films. So the fact that it starts, the very first shots that we see are footage from the actual set of shooting, and then we add Nicolas Cage as Kaufman is really, really brilliant. And you can sense that it's a meta film from the very start, but then it gets even way more meta. So yeah, nice. That's a very interesting point to, yeah. Dr. Busaina, thank you, Madame Busaina. Thank you so much. Thank you, and we are glad to have you with us. We're trying to have a bigger family, to have more interesting conversations. So we're very happy to have you with us, and it's always important to have a doctor with us. It's amazing. Thank you for being here. Can you tell us what is that movie? It is, yeah, John Malkovich, I guess. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, I know about metafilm. Thanks. That's the whole idea, actually. It's, yeah, I'd say, in a way, most of Kaufman's, I mean, I haven't seen all of them, but most of Kaufman's films can be considered as meta, because he does like to play with that element of either reminding us that we are watching a film, like really putting something that is as a screen in a way. For example, if you watch Anomalisa, the fact that he has a male voice for the female doll is just, and I think all the characters have a male voice. It's really brilliant because it takes you back to the idea that you're watching kind of a puppet show. And he does like to play with that idea. And having a film about John Malkovich, that's also meta anyway. So Synagogue, New York is another meta film. Yeah, I was meaning to watch that as well. I'm gonna watch it as soon as possible. I needed a pause from Kaufman after the essay, but yeah, I'm gonna go back to that. Oh, you mean within the film itself? I thought there was an intertextual kind of ties. Yeah, it's kind of very literal in that sense. It is very important how this film actually have subtext into it, in the sense that, like, we're going to talk about that, the meaning of the orchid and all this symbolism in the film that you would usually find in normal films, and normal films will focus on. But also, it is a very, very, very literal film. That, like, when you find stuff in there, they just refer to themselves most of the time, except for those moments where we get to get a glimpse of the book, actually, because it is still an adaptation of the book. I don't know if you guys have seen, actually, after watching the film, if you were curious enough to look up facts about the film. Let me know if you did, so I wouldn't repeat whatever you found. If you haven't, I can tell you how the movie was made and what is the idea behind it, which actually kind of what makes the movie interesting in a sense. Not really, I waited for you. Okay, then probably I should have started with that. So the idea was that, didn't want to spoil your moment. Thank you. I mean, it's fine, whatever you guys want to talk about. But so to give you an idea about what happened, so after I watched the film from the very beginning, I was like, Charlie Kaufman, isn't that like the actual screenwriter? What is going on? Is it a biography? And then when I was watching, I was like, okay, it's some sort of actual biography. But then around the middle of the film, it started taking a weird, on the third act, it started taking a weird turn. And I was like, okay, there is no way that this is right. Like, what is going on? How did this happen? Does the book actually exist? And does Kaufman have a twin brother? So I looked up everything, and what the actual thing is that all of the characters are real characters, basically, at least the main ones. So we have Kaufman, we have, except for Donald, the twin brother, it is totally fictional. And so Donald is fictional, and even though he is fictional, he actually was nominated for the Academy Award with Charlie about the film. Charlie actually put it, not Charlie, Kaufman. Kaufman actually put the name of Donald as a co-screenwriter, even though Donald doesn't exist in real life. And when the movie was nominated for the Oscars, it was actually, it lost to The Pianist, but it was for Charlie Kaufman and Donald Kaufman, which is amazing. And if you wait until after the credits, you can see that there is a dedication to the soul of Donald Kaufman, and some sort of quote from Donald's screenplay, the Three. And that is level, yeah, God, meta. It is amazing when you actually decide that, like when you actually see that. Who's dead in the movie? Yeah, Donald is the twin that died in the movie, and Donald can be one of the things that we talk about as well. Like, yeah, we can go back. I'm gonna start pointing, like writing the notes for what we're gonna talk about, because this is like, yeah. So other things he was like amused to him, or the one he wanted to be. That Donald is an extension of him. Rest in peace, Donald, the real legend. Yeah, he was. He was inspirational, and um, I wouldn't. I wouldn't say he was what. So there are like different ways to see Donald. Um, he can be a way for. It's just like that part of Kaufman that he couldn't make peace with, the fact that he's part of industry, even though he doesn't like to use that word. And that part of him that actually makes those films commercial. And he didn't like that, but he existed and he needed to live with it. And the moment actually, what I would say is that the moment that he died, he didn't really die in the sense that but they actually merged together. And so some people would say that the way I looked it up, some reviews and analysis, some people would say that Donald doesn't really exist. He's just some sort of multiple personality in a way. And when he dies, it's just Charlie accepting him in a way and just merging together, which would be actually one more point. Damn it, I didn't mention that in my essay. That would be interesting. See, still like stuff coming up. It would be interesting in that sense because that would be also meta, because inside the film, he actually says that one of the most used ideas in cinema is multiple personality. So if Donald really didn't exist, and we had it was a multiple personality thing in the film, that would be really, really amazing. But other than that, it can be also symbolic to, as I said, the commercial side of cinema compared to art side of cinema that Charlie wanted to find. That like making a film that is not story and that is just like there to talk about flowers. And then at the very end, the way that Charlie Kaufman in real life gave us the stories and gave us films was he made a way of making art films, very smart films, in a very commercial way that they would get success, which is really, really amazing. Sorry. Okay. Sorry, I was just going on and on. I didn't read. Okay. Of course, he must be grateful to him. It's like the total opposite of him. Yeah. And the idea of twins, actually, it goes back to very old time of making twins in screen oh my god, in scripts and even stories back at the time. Always, whenever you have a twin, it's like usually it's like the bad and the good, but it's more complex than that, and it's like always kind of an opposite when you have twins in a movie. He was his alter ego. No. In a way, yeah, because also the problem that I have with the idea of the alter ego is that he didn't really like him. Usually alter egos is something that is you look up to, but in a way, Charlie was he was looking down at Donald and the seminars that Donald was taking, which kind of remind me of my own classes, actually. How we were like all wild and everything, and then like we were given rules and we were like, no, it's just like we want to break the rules, and everyone was like, just know the rules first, know how to follow them, and then by mastering that, which is the hardest thing, you can break the rules in a right way. And it is what Kaufman actually does. He breaks the rule in a very, very smart way of at the same time following the rules, which is great. So his alter ego, in that sense, I don't know. So Sarah here is my sister, and she's a psychiatrist. So it would be very interesting to have her opinion about the characters in that sense. So if you think that I'm saying something wrong about the alter ego, just let me know. Exactly, Sarah, that's what I felt. I think that was real representation of the struggle of every artist. Should I sell out or stay true to myself? When you remember awesome ways to say something after an exam. Yeah. I mean, at some point, as I said, it was just like too much that I had to stop at some point. And I had only 2,000 words to talk, and I had already to get rid of many points that I wanted to talk about. This is why I'm having this live. This is just like so egoistic from my side to have this live to talk about the points that I couldn't talk about in the essay. But yeah, it is a struggle. That was also a personal experience when I was watching the film. I had Naz actually with me when we were watching, and in the beginning, the way that Donald was talking and the way that Charlie was talking, I was like, yes, like, why can't we make movies for the sake of movies and like all of that? And I was like, yeah, it's just, you're a free spirit as an artist, and you need to find a way to be yourself, but at the same time please audience, because it's still like your job. And it is a struggle for artists to make a job out of that passion, because at this you need to find some sort of balance. And not even talking about the anxious part of the character, of like the self-doubt and the self-loathing, and you're like, am I the very first actually thing that we hear and we see in the film is like the black screen, and he's like, am I good enough? And it is sad. Most of the artists had to go through that, and even though they get praise for whatever, like a person as Kaufman, like the film actually starts after John Malkovich, the movie he did before, was a success, and this is why he gets the contract for. I just remembered that I didn't finish the story behind the film. I'm sorry. The contract for adapting the Orchid book. So he is a success, yet he is very self-loathing. I would like to have Sarah's opinion about that, if she can contribute. That anxious, self-loathing part of the character, I think it's important to explore. The multiple personality thing. Yeah, he did put it on purpose. There are a lot of things. If you go through basically everything that's been said in the film, it's a reference to something that is in the film, which is really amazing. Yes, it was really confusing in the beginning of the movie when I saw the two Nicolas Cage. The multiple personality disorder went into my head in the beginning too, which is something that is done by the fact that we are exposed, as he said, to a lot of films who are talking about multiple personality disorder. But he did it right. If that was the idea and Donald didn't really exist, then probably it's the best multiple personality disorder treatment I've ever seen. Can we first admit how talented Cage was as a twin? I am always amazed by the same actor doing twin jobs, but Cage was awesome. Do you still have something as Cage even after this movie? Yes. It's a personal thing. I understand that there is big um, conversation in the sense that is Nicolas Cage um, really a genius or he's just too bad? And I think that's something that can never be answered because you will find real big fans saying that he's actually very, very smart and a genius. And this is why it is like that. But at the same time, they would go, like people like me, that would be like, yeah, something's not there. I still think that like there would be more like actors who would do it better, maybe. But still, yeah, I mean, the whole double personality, opposite personality thing is not easy to do, and he kind of nailed it. It was kind of hard at some points to, since he wasn't like overacting, it was hard to really, like in the beginning, to know which is which when they first start talking. But then, like, once you see what they're talking about, what they're doing, you can distinguish them. Yeah, that's more of, I am aware of that. That's more of a personal opinion about Nicolas Cage. So that is what montage is for, creating balance between art and business. I am a big fan of Cage. I am sorry. I'm really sorry if, like, I mean, that's like, as I said, that's a personal idea of mine. And yeah, montage is important. It is, but what is sorry, what I really think it's important is that, and what people don't really recognize, even people in the industry most of the time, is that montage is done in the screenplay before on before becoming on screen. And it is, I think I spotted something that is kind of talking about that. When actually Charlie says to Donald, like when Donald mentions like how he's gonna make the multiple personality disorder thing, and Nicolas Cage, no, not Nicolas Cage, and Charlie was, yeah, but how you're gonna do that? Like, how can you make two characters be in different places at the same time? And obviously, Charlie was talking about the screenplay, how you're going to make it logical that he's going to be in two places at the same time. But then Donald, the way he said it was like trick photography. And it is, I think it's a reference to the way that films just has a tendency of having problems in the screenplay and things that are not really worked on in the screenplay, and yet they're like, yeah, you know what, CGI, and like special effects, and boom, it's just. But no, that's not how you do it. You need to have a consistent screenplay from the beginning, so you can actually afterwards, using trickery and using cinema, you can actually put it even more out there. And I really love that. I really love that scene. And I was like, yes, yes, because I really believe that a very good screenplay, no matter how simple it is, a very nice screenplay that is smart and written in a very good way would basically just go into becoming a good movie, even though the directing or the artistic side of it is not that big. And there are um, multiple examples for that. So that was really, yeah, a nice thing. So yeah, and the idea that montage is creating balance between art and business, it is. It is a way. Montage is a way of creating the idea and tricking the audiences in that sense. So you would watch it and you would understand things that are not really there if there was no montage between the two shots. and it's really amazing. Okay. Cage is great as a movie, but he's not always great. Yep. Yeah. I would say this is my favorite performance of him so far. Even more when I discovered his passion for Elvis. I didn't know he was a fan of Elvis, actually, but good to know. So far, all the movies I watched of Cage are beautiful. Maybe Moonlight with Cher is funny, but that's it. It's funny. I don't know Cage, especially since Face Off. Yeah, maybe I need to give more a better chance to see more of him. Then maybe I will change my mind. Donald was lying on the ground at first. He couldn't get up, and then gradually he became mobile and active. I think it made a lot of sense. Huh. That is a very important point. I haven't thought about it. Yes, he starts with pain on his back, and then he ends up in the like traveling, and that can be very interesting in the sense that like how he was oppressed as a side um, from Charlie, and then little by little we can see in the movie that he was gaining power in that sense and gaining uh, agility, and yeah, he's more active. That's a very interesting point, Sarah. I didn't think about that. Thank you. I love how the movie actually had a conclusion that was the antithesis of the beginning, from self-loathing and degradation to accepting oneself. That is one of the things that is opposite to the beginning. In a way, it's also, if you rewatch the film, you would realize that everything that Charlie said he's not going to put in the film, he actually afterwards is in the third act of the film. So he was in the beginning when he was meeting the producer, he was like, yeah, I don't want to make a movie that has sex scenes, car accidents, um, like what else, drugs, and like characters who actually learn stuff about life and they just turn themselves around. And that is exactly what happens at the end. And that's another meta element that is subtle, but it's there. And you need to think the way you think about it. Also, something that he mentions, I have my notes here. They're messy, so it might take some time. Oh, okay, this is not the notes that I needed. Oh yeah, these are the notes I needed. So I'm looking for, yeah, Ouroboros, I guess, something like that. It's the idea of the pattern that of the snake that eats its tail, and that's how you need to think about the movie. Most of the way when we think movies like that, it's like, you know, how, for example, it's like Gone Girl, how it starts in the same way that how it ends the same way that it starts, either visually or like in the narration. But in this particular sense, is that whenever you're going through the movie, you need to keep thinking about the start. Because one of the other things that he did was, and that was, I would say, that was the moment that we realized that the movie is super meta, is when we see Charlie have the idea of putting himself in the film, and we see Charlie have the idea of starting the film with the shots before before all life begins on Earth. Because when the movie started and I saw those scenes, I was like, why those scenes in there? Is it going to be like one of those complicated artsy films? But then in the middle, the way he had the idea, and you're like, oh yeah, that's why. So I would like to, I'm sorry if I'm not reading right away, because this is like, I think, a very, very interesting point in the film, is that it is very special in the sense that usually when we see films, we actually see them. We see only the final product. We don't see all the drafts that was made beforehand. But in here, we actually get to see the drafts all the time. Hey, how are you doing? Yes. I'm talking about a very interesting point that I found in film.
Oh, okay.
So the idea what I was talking about is that how what is special about this film is that we go usually all the films actually we get like only the very final draft that we get to see in the on screen, but this film found a way to actually show us all the drafts that was the screenplay or the drafts of the screenplay, because we see Charlie like all the time like finding ideas and then going back and then finding other ideas and then adding to that, and that is something we don't see usually in films, and that's like what films usually tend to hide in that sense. So that was like very, very interesting. I've never seen a movie that does that.
Yeah, why do you think that they use this like in the film though?
Because like it's a meta film. Like every element that was actually I told that like that was my what my essay was about, is like the meta side of the film, and that is like very meta because it is a reflection of how you make a film, and it's not just how you make a film in general, but how that specific film that you're watching was made. And in every element in the film can be seen as a meta film, actually, if you go like super deep and crazy the way I did about the film. Like,
I know.
Total
I
psycho. But okay, let me share you on screen. And but yeah, that was very interesting to think about that. Like there were all these drafts, and usually films they're like, you know what, it's just this perfect product that you get at the very end with no problems and everything, but you don't really get to see the struggle of making that specific film and finding a way to put it inside of fiction, not a documentary. It's not like a documentary or something. It's like, here's this film how it was done. It's just like I've never seen something like or someone do that. And that was actually like, I think that was very, very interesting in that sense. And also what I was talking about, these are like my notes.
Yeah, I know.
And another thing that I was talking about is that you need he was referring to himself as the snake that eats its tail. And the way you need to think about the film is that as the film goes by, you need to go back as well and remember elements from the beginning. Because when he has the idea to actually put scenes from how life developed on Earth, and like what if you remember when we were watching the film in the beginning, we were like, why is that there? But then in the middle of the film, you're like watching, and then you're like, this is how he got the idea, and you go back to the very beginning and how he actually put it in there. That's like a lot to put in a film. A lot of things actually you need to go back to the beginning of the film. Maybe like when you rewatch it, because I had to rewatch it for the essay. When you rewatch it, kind of like really realizing this.
Yeah, I know, because it's kind of hard to notice like a lot of things in this adaptation. Like because as you said, like it's super rich in in every sense, so you cannot really comprehend what they want to give you, like just watching once.
Yeah. I mean, that's also another thing that like it's very rich on the themes that like philosophically you can just keep on asking questions. Like we're talking, who is Donald? Actually, maybe he's like, there are some who said that he's like his alter ego. There's like things that I found on the internet saying that like it's just a split personality.
Yeah.
And there's like there is ones that like it's personally it's like it's also a symbolism of the commercial films compared to the artsy films that leads in Charlie. So there is like that duality, and there are like always philosophical and symbolism in the film, aside from very literal and meta elements.
Mm-hmm.
And usually you don't find all of that just in one film, and still it makes it interesting, I think.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things that we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Most famous Cage performance is in the bees scene in the recommend. I haven't seen that. Others in the room. I need to see that. I will see that. Thank you guys for all the Nicolas Cage references. I feel like because like you remember I said I don't like him. It's just like like for me, I would have preferred to have another actor, but I have a lot of Nicolas Cage fans here, and I feel like I will look it up. Maybe I didn't do.
Yeah, we were talking about like Jonas, you and I, like how Nicolas Cage is either genius or like stupid.
Yeah, that's what I said. It's just like it's hard to determine in that sense, and we will always have the two clans.
Yeah,
in that sense. I think it's more about his movie choices and the directors he works with. Maybe. Again, I haven't seen that much of movies of his, but I know he acted in a lot of movies that he maybe shouldn't have. I've heard about that, but I think it's more. Nicolas Cage is not a good actor for sure, but some roles just suits on him, like in the one I heard. Ali said it. I didn't say it. He said it. He did great in Mandy too. I see personality disorder in a different way. It's somehow the need to disconnect from the external world and focus on the self. I would say, something happened.
Why?
I jumped.
Yeah, it's there. Communicated in English. I see personality disorder in a different way.
Okay, yeah. So I will read Sarah's comment. Something else he wanted to avoid in his film was the sex scenes, and he did it. However, I found it very subtle when talking about the orchid's asexual sexuality, much like his fantasies. Okay, that's some deep stuff. I'm gonna go back to that. I see personality disorder in a different way. It's somehow the need to disconnect from the external world and focus on the self. I would say that in this specific film, it was actually kind of the opposite. He was in the beginning, he was very focused on himself, and he was just like so in his own bubble. And he was like, you know what, this is how films used to like are supposed to be. And then it's just like he opens up himself to his brother and like the guy Maki, the guy who's doing the seminars, and he gets like a piece of advice from him. If you remember, he goes to his seminar. And then he's like, he gives that very nice. Actually, I found a trivia about that. I want to share with you guys. It's when he goes to the bar and he's like to Mickey, he's like, I keep going on and on about the beginning, but I don't know how to go on from that. And he was like, you know what? I'm gonna give you a trick. Just woe them at the end, and you get yourself a good film.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. And he was like, just focus on the third act, and you will make a good movie. And the funny part is that I looked up an interview with the actual Mickey, because Mickey actually exists.
Really?
Yeah, and then he's a very known scholar, and he makes a lot, not scholar, but like he is someone who makes seminars about screenwriting and everything. And when he was talking about the film, he said that like the first time he got the script, well, he saw himself as being like the villain of the script. And when he saw the script, he was like, okay, the third act is shit, and you need to rewrite your third act. And also he was like, I want a redemption scene where I get like, you get to show me as the bad guy like during the film, it's fine, but I need a scene when I get like to redeem myself, like to the audience, and actually show that I'm not a villain. They're like, okay. And he actually helped writing the third act of the film. Yeah, he was like there, and they had meetings, and they rewrote the third act. So the fact that like in the redemption scene that we see in the bar, actually the thing, like the piece of advice that Mickey gives to Charlie is actually work on your third act and make a good third act, and you get like a good movie. And it's like, I was like, wow, it's like that is already, just knowing that trivia, it's already meta.
Yeah.
It's like going how that film also worked, how that like Mickey worked on the third act of the film. And I was like, wow, people can actually do that. So yeah, that was really interesting to find out. So yeah, I would say the way he opened up to Mickey and everything was, in the beginning he was very self-focused, but then he understood that like getting advice from other people that before he thought that they were beneath him, and he actually we go to more to communication is what allowed him to find a balance and make like a good movie at the end.
Yeah.
In that sense. And you agree?
I agree. I'm trying to remember, because whenever you talk adaptation, strangely, like Stranger Than Fiction appears in my mind.
Yeah,
like,
Stranger, yeah.
It's, I don't know, it's insane, but there are some
was
like
like
similar scenes, not the scenes like similar, but the ideas, similar ideas just popping into my head.
And I remember you liked Stranger Than Fiction more.
Yeah.
It was like more book related.
That's
I know
the
you're more of
reason.
Okay, so I told you about this, but Selma here, she does book reviews in English.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know
that's
if all of
cool.
her all of her reviews are in English, but I remember there was one in English. And yeah, she's a book fan. I have another book fan in here. She's English literature student, and we always like have that conversation about
like
books
film
and
versus
films.
books.
Yeah. So
adaptation about adaptation. Come on.
yeah, but it's about screenwriting.
Yeah, I know.
More than the actual adaptation. And Stranger Than Fiction is more about like a book being adapted in a real life story. In that sense.
Yeah, in that, so not really, but yeah.
Yeah, but it's still about like a book writer that is struggling. But it is actually, I don't know if you guys have seen Stranger Than Fiction, but it is interesting also how it's like there's the struggle of the writer and that writer block that exists.
But also it's like the same, like, because we see the writer struggle and then we see the fictional character struggle and what he is like getting through. Like, so there's like duality also in Stranger Than Fiction. So it's just, that's why sometimes like my face is like, okay, what like is it there or was it in
I know. Yeah, most of the people here probably have seen it very recently, so like, trying to think it.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going before you because I need to change my name and I'm gonna sleep.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Have fun, guys. And you can just send the Salma's like
link.
Link.
Salma, you got yourself a fan. So yeah. So going back, something else we wanted to avoid, sex scenes. Yeah, that is actually another topic. I think like orchids on themselves are a very interesting theme, and so yeah, going back to what the movie was supposed to be, it is so in real life, Kaufman got contacted after John Malkovich actually became like a success. He got contacted about this book and that really exists, and the writer really exists. And he was like, they wanted him to make a movie about it. So the struggle that we see in the film is the actual struggle of Kaufman. And he was like, how can I adapt a book that is not adaptable? And he has been through that struggle, but inside of the struggle, it's the same way you see it in the film until the third act, actually. And then he just like realizes that he can make an adaptation of the book inside the fact that he's struggling with making the adaptation of the book. And he made it, I guess, perfectly, because we still get to see the themes that the book dealt with and the emotions that the book gives, without being directly only an adaptation, but the process of the adaptation. And one of the things that is also out there, and it was actually one of the texts that we read for the class, was that it's also not only book adaptation in the title, but it's also about the adaptation of orchids and in biology in general. And that is another interesting point. So also another trivia is when she was talking, Susan, I guess, in real life, she had an interview about the movie, and she was asked about the movie, and she was like, in the beginning, I was very scared when I read it. I was like, no, that will ruin my reputation. The third act didn't happen. I didn't go. She didn't have actually a relationship with Lavroche, I guess his name is, or Laroche, and she didn't do drugs or anything. All of that is just fiction, and she was scared for her reputation. But then she gave it time, and she saw it on screen, and she was like, it's crazy how Kaufman actually managed to get all the themes and all the feelings, all the messages that I wanted to put from my book on screen. And he even went more than that. She didn't talk that much about her marriage relationship in the book, but Kaufman found a way to actually look to the subtext in the book, and he actually made the perfect reading of her marriage relationship. And she was very surprised. She was like, this guy is a genius. He made everything right. And she was very satisfied for that movie to be an adaptation of her book, even though it wasn't a direct one. And that just tells you how important it is. But what we consider an adaptation is not necessarily a literal adaptation of a book, because we have that right now with movies that a lot of people were like, yeah, you know what, it's not like in the book or something. But sometimes it's not about the exact book. It's about what the book wants you to feel, or what the book wants you to get. And the movie just does that, either visually or emotionally, or in the events. So yeah, I think that's it's important also for the sex scenes and the sexuality, like his fantasies. Yeah, that is a very, very interesting point in that sense. Sometimes, yeah, gotta be realistic sometimes when you write a movie. Editing is another movie writing layer. Showing the process of writing is genius. It is. It is. Not a lot of people know how movies are written. They see a lot of backstage shots of how directing and how making that shots are made, but usually you don't see how scripts are writing. And believe me, it's like when you know that everything is possible when you're writing, it's not helping. You're like, literally, I can do anything. So how can I know what is my limit? And how can I know that this is the best choice in an infinite sea of choices? And it's really hard to just pick something and then go with yeah, that's what I want to do with the film, and that would be the best choice to the identity of the film. And it is amazing. I really love the fact that there was a movie about how screenwriting works. the way it goes. People think it's an easy thing, but try to write one. Yeah. People usually they're like, oh, you know what? I have a great idea that I'm gonna make into screenwrite, like screenplay, and it's not as obvious as you think it is, because you need not only to find solutions for every possible not logical or logical fallacies in there, you also need to make it look interesting, original, um, and believable, but not lifelikely. And yeah, there is a lot to consider when you write a screenplay or like script for movies. It is a whole other process than writing a story. So you need to think about it as a final product, and at the same time, yeah, you need to give it everything to work with from the beginning. So the fact that you see him, this keeps happening. I'm sorry, guys. Just the fact that you see him having ideas about stuff you already seen in the movie is mind blowing. Yeah. Yeah, I'd say that's like the moment that you're like, okay, we are watching a film about this film. And yeah, it's really hyped. That same process happened with Susie. When she narrates her lines from the novel, then you see them in front of you. Yeah. Yes, and that would be the elements of like making the usual adaptation, and you still see them in the film. And yeah, it's the same struggle that Susie has while writing the book. Of like, she wanted to talk about orchids, but she didn't like, she found a way to put herself in the orchids while she was writing, even though it wasn't that direct most of the time. And yeah, that's the same way, that's the same trick that Kaufman found, I'd say. The difference here is that you see it before writing it. It's like Community. I just realized that this series was so many references to the real world and actors. For Community, yeah, there are a lot. There is actually, for TV series Community, there is actually a meta episode. In that sense, yeah, it is so meta. I love it. That's why actually I love the character of Abed, because he's the most meta direct character there is. So it exists. The fact that the book actually exists and its author is insane. As I said, like also Mickey exists, even though Kaufman he didn't see it. So that was my main idea in the beginning when I finished watching the film. I was like, okay, there are those obvious, like there is no way that Charlie's Kaufman real brother was killed by Susan in real life. That must be fiction. So I was looking up what was fiction and what was real, and I realized that the whole story was real, except for the Donald part and the final act for sure, and some elements in the middle. But that what makes it interesting, that mix between fiction and real life stuff. I have subtitles under them so you can follow me. Okay, perfect. Gonna let her know that. I found an interview with her talking about being approached by the production team to adapt her book. Yeah, I think that was the interview that I saw. And she was like, yeah, in the beginning she was, yeah, like that's the book that I've never thought that people would adapt. It's not adaptable. How you're gonna do that? And they were like, yeah, you know what? We have this very good screenwriter that can do it. And yeah, hell, he surprised everyone. No one has thought that it's gonna be that crazy, and he puts his bets in the right way. Do the best for Salma. But they both were scared for their reputation. Yeah. So, what about mothers in the film? LaRoche's life changed after losing his mom, and he talked about his mother as in his first love scene, Susan. Charlie asks always don't if their mom will appreciate or know what they are doing. So, yeah, Sarah's remark pushes me to think about Susie's sadness and dilemma. And now that Sarah said that, like maybe that's why she said acts different with her husband. I don't know. Okay, so these are different. Okay, you're referring to an earlier comment. I'm gonna go back to that. Mothers. I don't know about the LaRoche thing. For LaRoche, I'd say like the thing about his mom is well, it's just a very sad thing that you need to put in a script to have that change in the actor, in the character. But the way I saw, and also to put the car crash that he didn't want to put in the movie and before, or like any of the cliches, and yet he put it there. I think that's mainly why we had the car crash about the mom in that sense. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know how you think that like the mother of LaRoche acts in here. That would be interesting to know if you can elaborate on that. But for Charlie and Donald's mom, going with the idea of that Charlie would be artsy films and Donald would be the commercial films. I would say the mom would be the industry of Hollywood or even the audience who always gives confirmation and validation to the commercial things rather than the artsy things in that sense. And the artsy things need to be independent films most of the time. So the mother, there is like no communication between Charlie and the mother, but Donald and his mother, they're very close, and he's always showing stuff. And she's like, you know what? Yeah, we can make that, and you can make that, and that's really good idea. So that was the reading that I had about the character of the mom. But the only time that Charlie actually connects with his mom was after Donald died. So if we're going with the theory that after Donald dies, it's actually the two characters merging into one, and that would be the artsy commercial films that Kaufman does in real life. That would be interesting because that was the way that Kaufman in real life found to communicate and connect with the industry while still being himself and doing his thing. So, I mean, that can be just a maybe theory, but in the way that I read it, it's still consistent in that sense. I don't know about you guys, but yeah, that was the mother for me, the way that she kept validating Donald and the way she kept like, you know what, that sounds like that movie, like put together and everything. Yeah, that was my reading about the mom. And I wanted to say something else. Yeah, it happens that like McKee also, when I was watching it's crazy how this movie trivia and story behind the movie is super connected to the movie. It's amazing. So when McKee he was having an interview about the film, and he wanted, like, when he was describing the film, he actually described it as an art commercial film, which I think is the idea in a way of the film, because the film does start with an artsy effect. We get archive footage, and we get very self-reflective voiceover that is about like the mental psychology of the character, and we got like shots from before the creation of life and the way the creation of life develops on Earth, and that is very artsy. That feels very artsy, and then the movie actually ends with the hero like riding to the sunset after a very climax Deus Ex Machina thing that happened, and it moves to the commercial side. So the whole film is just like moving from there to there, and I really think that's very interesting. So that's why there are like a lot of layers in that sense. The movie does go from there to there. And one of the things that are very meta is that in the film, McKee says, do not use Deus Ex Machina. So if you guys don't know what Deus Ex Machina is that there was a tendency in films, and still some of them still have, but I think the audience just grew aware of it, that you'd have a problem in the film that is just like there's no way to fix it, and the way that you will have that problem fixed is that by divine intervention. In that sense, something that is like just happens out of nowhere, and the problem of the hero is fixed. And that was how, like, by having the alligator attack La Roche at the end, how it was fixed in the movie, and Mickey was like, "Don't you dare use Ex Machina," and yet he, like, Kaufman in real life does use it. And it's the same thing for voiceover. Like, I don't know if you guys had noticed. I'm sorry if I'm stopping talking about this stuff, but because I need like to just say these. When he says like any stupid person can use voiceover, but you shouldn't use voiceover, and that was actually one of the tips that we got when we were studying script writing and direction in my bachelor. That was like, yeah, you can just say anything with a voiceover, but you need to find a way to say it through the actor and the film. And that is a very valid tip, because it's so easy to just put everything in voiceover. It becomes ridiculous. But it's also the way that, like, Kaufman shows that there's still a right way to use voiceovers. And he just put it in there. It's very, very subtle and very smart. And also another thing, I don't know if you've seen, but like the moment that McKee says, don't use voiceover, the voiceover just disappears, and then comes back at the very end. And that was like, I think that was kind of clear, but it was really, really nice. So yeah, my point being Deus Ex Machina. I don't remember. Oh my god, this is exactly what I was talking about that film, that like you start talking about one layer and you find yourself talking about more and more and more behind it, and then you cannot go back anymore. So Sarah's remark pushes me to think about Susie's sadness and dilemma. And now that Sarah said that, I'm like, maybe that's why she's sad. You're talking about Susie's sadness and dilemma. I'm not sure about which comment actually you're talking about, Selma, if you can elaborate on that. Okay. Okay. When you think that Laroche is that crazy deforestation guy that is a bad person, then see how he's seen in Susie's eyes, you definitely change your point of view. Then he ends up being a drug addict. Yeah, but at the same time, I would say that like you definitely see more to the guy. I mean, like he started growing like on me, but then like the porn thing started. Like he started the porn website, and I was like, maybe it's not that good anymore, or like he's never been good. But like no, you can see that he's actually nice, and actually I would say even nicer than Susie in the very end. Like Susie became like that manipulative thing. He's like a very chill drug addict, but she was the one who got violent. She was the one who really worried about the whole thing, and she asked him to kill Charlie and his brother. So I'd say, yeah, Susie was the villain, and LaRoche was he was very important and interesting as a character, and he is from the book already an interesting character in real life as well. So yeah, this movie is definitely underrated. That's why actually I suggested for people to watch it. I also had never heard of it before this class, and after it finished, I was like, how did that slip? How they're not actually teaching this movie in screenwriting classes? It's crazy. It's crazy. It's just all there. It's brilliant on how complicated yet simple a movie can look and be. So when Susan was talking with her friends, she presented him as a boy always talking about his mom. Yeah, yeah, that was a key scene, I'd say, because that was a moment that Susan, I guess, changed, because she heard in the beginning she was just talking, but then when she heard the way she was talking through the other people, she knew that like she was showing the person in a very on the very surface, and there was actually more to the character than that. And that was like a morality wake-up call maybe for her. Yeah. The happiness search, like Shakespeare's play, they just with a snap go away. That's the deus ex machina. That is a thing while writing, and that is a thing that you need to avoid, usually at all costs. But if it's used in this way, that's still very, if it's in a meta way, then yeah, thumbs up. When you have a movie doing voiceover is lazy way to do scenes. But at the same time, in this film, that is actually, yeah, that's what I mentioned about earlier, that like, usually, yeah, when you don't have the craft of writing, you just have that bunch of cliches in your head that you just want to put thinking that they're good ideas because you've seen them so much and you don't know how to do it differently, and you don't know that there is a more intelligent way to do it, and you end up with very like unrealistic and lazy script that you need to work on. So if I want to share with you, like, guys, a small story about when I was studying. So we had this exercise where we needed to, that's, I think, what was good and very interesting in my years of bachelor, is that we had to work on those rules in the beginning to know how to break them, as I said earlier. So we started with very, very basic things, and they would tell us that like the very exercise we had was tell your story in 2 sentences. And if you cannot tell your story in 2 sentences, there is something wrong with your story. That like you are focusing on so many things and you need to put things like together. And other than that, when we were like doing also script writing and directing at the same time, we had a workshop. We had the very exercise was tell a story without any dialogue in 5 shots. And like coming with all the background, the visual background that we have nowadays, it was hard to come up with a story in 5 shots. And we had a specific theme. I don't remember anymore. But anyway, the idea that we came up with was, and actually, I think it was plot twist. The theme was a plot twist. And we had this idea of actually a woman who comes back to her room. She puts like her stuff and everything, and then like we see her husband coming into the room, and then we actually realize that he's dead. So he was like, I remember that my professor was like, okay, how are you going to show that he's dead? I was like, coming with all the cliches. I was like, yeah, it's like, it's easy. Like, I'm going to just put a photo of him with a black sign. And he was like, where did you see that happening? Especially like for a person who because the idea was that she just came from the funeral, just coming from the funeral in a very small photo. You don't see that in real life. That is a lazy choice to do, to actually say that he's dead. And I was like, yeah, but like afterwards, we're not going to see him. Like we're going to see him through the mirror, and in the mirror, he's not going to be there. And he was like, yeah, he's not there, but how do we know that he's dead? How do we know they didn't just break up? And that was the moment that I was like, damn, there is way more to screenwriting than what it looks. And the idea that we come up with at the very end was that we will see him with a pipe and a specific book. And then when she actually puts she takes off her ring and she puts it next to like on the table, we're gonna actually see the pipe and the book and his ring in there with like a lot of photos of them, for their marriage and everything in that sense. And I was like, yeah, you need to look up stuff, to more intelligent stuff than actual direct messages that are there. And yeah, that was just a little story about screenwriting. So like whenever, it's a tip, whenever you're writing, if you ever want to write a screenplay or script for movies, whenever you write something, you're like, okay, how can I make it more interesting and less direct and more clear without going through cliches. Okay, sorry for that parenthesis, I open. He didn't want to kill the twins. He did it out of love, and he told her, I'm blinded by love. Yeah, actually, that's what I felt. I really liked the character. I really felt that he was more affectionate, actually. And with his background, I felt sorry for him. Yeah. So in the end, she was real, always since the moment she started talking about him with her friends. Yeah, she had the potential of being a bee, definitely from the beginning. But then I was like, yeah, maybe she found herself and everything. But this is why the twist at the end is interesting. You would never think that Susie would go that crazy. They're avoiding it because it's too far from the way they teach screenwriting. Yep. Meta is also a parody, and like you said, I can break them if I master them. Yeah, parody it is. I didn't mention that earlier. Parody it is one of the formats of meta cinema, because it does deal with an actual thing, either cliche movies like scary movie, yeah, or like the genre, or talking about genre. One of the things that was mentioned in the book, not in the book, in the film, was like when Donald just looked to Charlie, he was like, my genre is thriller, what is yours? And I really I laughed at that moment, and I was like, it's crazy how like you actually need a genre, but you don't. In this movie, there is no genre. There is a movie, and I don't really believe in genre in the sense that like I'm very interested in the way that genres are put together usually, but yeah, genre is just, I think we talked about it in one of the old lives that we had. Yeah, that was interesting. So parody, yeah, it is one of the meta films forms. It's a once in a lifetime way to do a screenplay. Any movie who does the same will always be a copy of this movie. Yeah, because it is very self-consistent, very deep, very smart, and it's rich in every single way. So Susie is like orchid. She's a phantom. She looked like insect to have sex with, to live. And she'd do it with Charlie. She looked like his mom. She appreciated him. She said yes to him and then used him. But in her book, she explained that orchid phantom doesn't exist in real life. Okay, let me remember that. In the actual book, okay, because it's not the same thing. In the actual book, Susie never saw the orchids, so it's like in the movie in the beginning, the book that she published. So in real life, she never saw the orchid, but in Kaufman's version, he takes that ending and he's like, okay, and that's actually when the third act starts, and when things starts becoming 100% fictional, because that's when it's amazing. I'm sorry, I'm so excited about this film. That's when also Donald takes control, and he's like, no, there is more to the story than that. She cannot just not see the orchid, and that's the end. There is more to it. And that's when the third crazy fictional commercial act starts, when Donald convinced Charlie to look more into the thing. And that's when we go out of the book and we see that, like, actually Susan saw the orchid and was unfulfilled and was disappointed, and that made her, in a way, go into the philosophy of, like, what the heck? Nothing is important. Nothing is sacred. Let's just do drugs and kill people. And but yeah, she is. If we are to talk about the meaning of the orchid, I really want to, like, have all your opinions about what the orchid means in here. And if we would go in that sense, or in the sexual aspect of it, and the way it's presented, like, there is that scene where the orchids are, like, he's talking about orchids, but he's looking at women. I found that interesting as well. And the way he's also the way he's Charlie is seeking validation from Susan, and seeing her as his orchid, in a way, that he can't reach. It is interesting in that sense. And yeah, I mean, in a sense, also, he never really talked to her. They never really had a real relationship. It was all in his head, and that was the moment that actually, like, his fantasy broke, the same way that her fantasy broke when she saw the orchid, and when he saw her on the porn website, his fantasy broke, and she's not that person that he's been fantasizing about for so long. So, man, I wish I could major in cinema. I want to be better on the technical level. Ideas got that covered, by techniques not so much. There are, I think it is something that you can work on your own as well. Of course, having professional help, saying it like that, it's just, but you know what I mean. Having a professional teach you is always interesting, in the sense that you get the tricks right away. But it is the good thing is that nowadays, with internet, with YouTube, it's the same thing about film analysis. You get to learn, if you really want to learn about how things work. And honestly, like, you have me whenever you want to, I can contribute with the little knowledge I have anytime. Any of you guys, in that matter, if you're interested, it would be my pleasure. We talked about this. If you guys want to have a live where we talk about only like the technical stuff, it would be like a small online workshop. That would be nice. I would love to do that. I am planning on teaching. I had a small 1 year barely experience of teaching in the university about like script writing and directing. So yeah, I love doing that. So if you guys want to do that, let me know. She needs to choose this end to her book to protect herself, like the orchid that stay hidden in the ponds. Yeah, it is some sort of an adaptation, exactly. She adapts to the feelings. It's like a defense mechanism to the shattering of her fantasy in that sense. And yeah, she kind of adapts after knowing that that orchid is not that special, it's just a flower. And yeah, that is the psychological side of it. Mm-hmm. When I say used him, I'm talking about her adaptation, her evolution process from sadness to happiness. Okay, are you talking about the real Susan or the fictional Susan? That was the problem when I was starting the live. Actually, I was like, yeah, there's gonna be a problem to actually talk about real life people or the people in the movie. I'm talking about her adaptation, her evolution process from sadness to happiness. Yeah, if you could like explain that more. I'm sorry, maybe it's my head, but I still do not really grasp what you mean. So, in your opinion, why the movie was named Adaptation? Because I got no clear idea. That was, yeah, I mentioned earlier that it can be seen in every single sense. It can be seen from the fact that it is a movie about adapting a book. It can be seen that it is the adaptation, the biological adaptation of beings, being orchids, and which is the main theme of the book, and people adapting to what is happening to them. It can be adaptation in the sense of it is a meta idea of, if you call a movie adaptation, you're just like, wait, what? And after all, it is okay, wait, it's an adaptation. Wait, it is a movie about screenwriter writing a movie about screenwriter writing an adaptation for a book. And that screenwriter circle, you could just go on and on and on about it. It's like putting a mirror in front of a mirror and you just get that infinite reflections. And yeah, so it can be seen in any sense of why it's called adaptation. So you can either see it as an adaptation, as a technical adaptation, or you can see it as adaptation as in the sense of like adapting to something. So either the adaptation of something or the adaptation to something. In that sense, I guess, in my opinion. And that's why we don't take drug, kids. Cheers to that. Yeah. It's the process of adapting a book into a movie. That's where comes the title. Yeah, that's one of them. Sorry, I was talking about John. Maybe it was lapsus. John, like John Malkovich, or LaRoche. Was LaRoche's name is John? I guess so. Yeah. Okay, now I see what you mean. So if I'm to go back, used him. Yeah. She definitely used him because she did use Laroche and his pain, first of all, into her book. And that relationship is actually starts from the beginning because she was also using him by making fun of him and getting more popularity with her friends. And um, she do it with, so your thing would be Susie is like Orchid, she is a phantom, she looked like as it to have sex with to live, and she do it with Laroche. She looked like his mom, she appreciate him, she said yes to him and then use him. But in his book she explained that Orchid fandom doesn't exist in real life. Yeah, that is an interesting point for the character of Susie, definitely. Susie was a weak personality struggling to write her book, then was completely broken, falling into drug and addiction in the end. Don't do drugs, kids. That's the idea. But it was also like, as I said, it was in a way that like when you have, okay, so if we're talking more about the meaning of the orchid, it is symbol for anything that we are seeking in life, and it can be the symbol of happiness. As Sarah said, it is something that is we seek and we want to reach, but happiness is there, and like the way she, and it is something that like when we are seeking something, actually it turns out that the journey of seeking it is what gives us the happiness, because once you reach it, it's not there anymore, and it's not as great as you thought it would be. And it is a human being. It is a human being quality, or actually not in that sense, characteristic, if we were to say that. So she was, in that sense, she couldn't find her happiness and she couldn't find her obsession, and she was disappointed, and that gave her like that nihilistic approach of like nothing matters and I can just do whatever I want. So yeah, the orchid, I'd say it's interesting in that sense that it is a representation of anything that a human being wants to achieve, but we usually forget that the journey to achieving it is what gives us real happiness, and happiness is not achievable. And yeah, perfection is not achievable, but we can be perfect by trying to be perfect. And yeah, life lessons. I was talking about Susan the character. Yeah, definitely, because I mean, poor thing Susan, the real writer, she's. It was very, very brave of her, because if she didn't approve of the film and the script, we wouldn't have that movie, and that would be really sad. Evolution theory and anthropology and psychology have different other sides more than those of Darwin. And Darwin is mentioned in the film. In psychological side, evolution is an adaptation process. I think the word adaptation can be explained by characters' evolution to survive in a deeper, superficial way. And there are species who are more dated that survive. Yes. I totally agree. I think that is one side of why the movie is called Adaptation. And can we also, because that was something that I realized yesterday, Adaptation is actually, the title is actually Adaptation Point. Not only adaptation, I didn't know that until yesterday. And yeah, I think the point part is also a reference to writing scripts in that sense. It's just like more things come up about this movie, and it's just yes. Yeah, it was that idea as well, because Susie was like, adapting is smart way since orchids are not plants, they don't need to know. Hinting that adaptation as a human beings is a very complicated matter. Yeah, it is, as Sarah mentioned, that like it's an anthropological and psychological adaptation. It's not a systematic adaptation of natural selection in that sense, or it's not an adaptation of a reaction to the surroundings to survive, but it is way more complex adaptation as human beings. It is kind of an adaptation. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, and there are species who are more, yeah. So Charlie survived. Okay, following that theory, why would you think that Charlie survived and Donald didn't? Or, I mean, I know why, not know, but like following that theory, I expect that LaRoche didn't survive because he was eaten by the strong in a way, and he was just still that weak person who gets devoured at the end, and because he was still in his trauma or whatever happened to him. But yeah, because Charlie used Donald to survive. That is interesting. It's like, that reminds me of like the idea of a twin eating another twin in the womb. Yeah, I see that. I see that Charlie needed Donald to die in order for him to live. Yeah. And yeah, he kind of consumed him in that sense, I guess, because afterwards he become combination of both. This damn movie is just goes on and on and on. It's just wow. I think he didn't need his twin anymore. He got the best part of him. That is it. Yeah. And that was the way that after Donald died, he was like, yeah, I know how to finish my script now. Yeah. I think he didn't need his. He didn't need him anymore. That is adaptation. Yeah. I actually thought that he would take his place and use that moment to become his bro, then actually become Charlie officially even to the world. Yeah, that is why I don't think Donald is an alter ego or something. He is an opposite for sure, but I don't think that Charlie ever wanted. He admired his brother for. I just remembered an important point I wanted to talk about. He certainly considered things and envied his brother about things that he had, and Charlie didn't. But I would never think that he would want like to be 100% Donald. So what I wanted to point out, another point, the way that actually, yeah, I'm falling in love with this film over and over again. I'm sorry, guys, I'm being very emotional about it. The way that like the final talk that Donald and that's better. The final talk that Donald and Charlie has, and Donald tells the story about Sarah, the girl that he liked, and then actually Charlie tells him that she was making fun of him, and he was like, "I don't care. My love was real." And then he gave this very important quote that you are what you love, not what loves you. And that is, and then he dies. And that is the moment I think that Charlie changes and gets rid of his writer block, because he realizes that, like, yeah, I don't need, because the way he was thinking about it, the self-loathing aspect of him, and how he was always seeking approval of others. Am I interesting? Am I going to do something that is going to be loved and seen? And that is very important, as we mentioned earlier, for artists to have. And the way he said it is that, like, yeah, you know what? I am defined by what I love, and I'm going to do what I love. And I'm not what loves me. I'm not the approval and validation of the others. And that is when he gets rid of his writer block, because he's just writing. He's being Charlie Kaufman again, and he's writing and doing what he's good at. And I think it's important that, like, he had that piece of advice from Donald, that parting gift, and then Donald dies, and Charlie exists perfectly. Actually, I would love to get also Sarah's opinion about the self-loathing, anxiety, social anxiety aspect of the character. Yeah, I mean, it's purely psychological aspect of the character. This is why I want to know your opinion about it. That was such a beautiful lesson. Yeah, that was a heartwarming moment, and that was the moment that, like, it's just like, yeah, that guy is wise, and he's not being a clown or something towards his life. He's just being himself, and he doesn't care, and he's defined by what he loves, and not everyone is brave enough to do that and be that. And yeah, he deserves the appreciation. He's that shy guy lacking confidence in himself. Yeah. You're talking about Charlie, right? He didn't like films with lessons and morals, but he did it too. Yeah, that is another meta thing, and he mentioned it in the beginning. It's like, I don't want characters that have like that life lesson at the end, and they change for the better and whatever. And yeah, he did it. Another meta element in there. He adapted in the end and evolved in a way. Yeah, definitely. It was interesting in his date with Amelia, I think. Actually, I don't know about you guys. When I was watching the film, I was disappointed with the ending in the beginning. Because, yeah, I didn't, like, personally, I don't like happy endings. And I agree with Charlie on so many things in the beginning that he said. It's like, we need to push more than that. And then when he was like, he's like all confident all of a sudden, and just he gets the girl at the end and rise to the sunshine. In the beginning, when I was watching the film, I was just watching the film as a film, and I was like, yeah, why put that ending? But then when I analyzed it and I looked up the things behind it and the idea of the metaphor itself in the film, I was like, okay, that is the perfect ending for it. It's way more than just a happy ending. It's a statement in every sense. So, when he knew what to do, going on and kiss her as classic films, but he didn't because of his anxiety. But wait, didn't he kiss her at the end? I thought he did. Ah, you mean that scene? Okay, you're not talking about the ending. You're talking about that moment when he was in the car. Yeah, I found that very relatable. I know that's sad, but I found that very relatable in that sense of like, yeah, okay, you know what? I know what to do. I know how to get that thing, and I know what to say, and I'm gonna do it. And then the moment, yeah, I'm gonna just open the door and I'm gonna just go and do it and have whatever I want. And then he just puts the car on move and just leaves. And I was like, God damn it, that is so true. When you're just like super anxious about something, and yeah, you're like, it's like you have people telling you, they're like, it's just simple. Like, go there and do it. And you have that pep talk with yourself, and you're like, yeah, I know, I'm gonna just go with that person and just say whatever I want. But then you're like, yeah, no, never mind, I'm not gonna do it. And that was funny in the way that was unexpected. Like, he just drove off. And yeah, I loved that scene. And I think that was interesting. This is why I wanted to talk about that anxious, self-loathing character of his. And it is that way. Actually, Kaufman is that way in real life. That's why all of his movies, actually, I think this is where it comes from. A lot of his movies are about has self-loathing characters and anxious characters. And I think this is where his sensitivity comes from. And why he's different. He accepts that, and he recognizes that about himself, and he takes that, as Tyrion said in Game of Thrones, you wear it like an armor, and it cannot be used against you. So yeah, that's what he does, and it is great. It's another topic that how artists get their creativity from their pain and their traumas and everything. I don't know if that's a myth, but it does work in a sense, in a way. So yeah, when he knew what to go on in classic film, but he didn't because of his anxiety. Yeah, that was one of the cliche breaking moments that you would be, yeah, he's gonna just get out and just do it. He was like, yeah, that would be romantic. That's what movies guys do in movies. They just go and ring the bell and follow her and just kiss her and get their happy ending. But then he didn't. The same way that the movie doesn't really give us that simple satisfaction of cliche movie. He tried to be different in his professional style, but it wasn't really possible. It is not. It is not. Sometimes you lose your chance and she goes to another person and you don't end up together. Yep. Actually, that was the ending that I was expecting, in the sense that she moved on, but he's gonna find another. It is, I have this, preference to finding love within, which is also a cliche that I don't really like, but I would prefer than just getting the validation of another person that you always wanted to have, and then you didn't. But again, that was just a very superficial reading of the film in the beginning. It was because of his anxiety. He wasn't self-confident enough to improve his writing. Yeah, which is sad. But he had to unlock that. That he had to have that lesson of you are what you love, not what loves you, to actually just break through and just do what he loves and be himself. Donald, I thought that it isn't really a happy ending. So I realized Donald wasn't probably even real. Dang it. Yeah, that is the idea. That is the. But also, happy endings usually happen after the hero. I mean, if we're talking about the classical, in a classical sense of writing a story, there is always a tendency of the hero losing something before getting their happy ending, and usually it is the mentor character. In that sense, it is classical structure. But yeah, I see what you. That was a heartwarming. Yeah, that was a sad moment, with singing the song along and everything. So he needs Donald to help him. Anxious person look like genius sometimes. It is because they focus on one thing in their life to avoid exposure to their fear. Yeah, but I think the point of this film is that like you cannot just be in a bubble and survive. You need to communicate and take whatever you can from the others and then filter it into your own things and use them. And I think that's the people who get the most of the life is the people who have that ability of hearing everything and then selecting whatever works with you. And then I know that most of the writing tips would tell you to like write something about yourself. And people tend to just write stuff that is only themselves. But I would like to think about it that you need to take from others and put it in your own way, kind of thing, to make something interesting and rich. If you stay in a bubble as an artist, you don't flourish, you don't evolve, and yeah, you end up not adapting and disappearing. So in the process of adapting, you always need to take from others in that sense. I want to I'm going to go through more of my notes in here. I think it's just we covered pretty much most of the ideas. Yeah. So yeah, I think if you would go, it would be interesting after this session to go back to the film and realize how every single element of it, every single dialogue in it basically has a meta connotation to it. And if you guys want to add something, meanwhile, while I read my points. I think we covered pretty much everything I had ready. If you guys saw something that we didn't talk about, please give us your readings about things and your analysis. This is why we're here. Yeah, one small thing that I wanted to point out as well is that when we're talking like formally about structure, it is amazing how actually we have a story within a story within a story within a story. Let's say just 4 stories, 4 levels of stories in there. So we got La Roche, that is that La Roche story that is said his mom and like his problem. We see it as a story. It's a mini story, it's a short story. Inside Susan's story, inside Charlie's story, inside Kaufman's story. And every single story actually has a full structure in it. It is not easy to do that at all because you can barely manage to work on the structure of one story and then having all of those inside of it. It's just, genius. So yeah, talking like so technically. Yeah. So yeah, I've gone through all of my notes in there, which is amazing. I didn't think I would talk about all of them. I think we talked about most of the aspects of the movie that are worth talking about. Yeah, I was just wondering that if you had other things you want to talk about. So I take it that everyone in here liked the movie, which makes me really happy. So, what do you think this? What are you taking from this session? What do you think? Do you think that this session really added to your readings of the movie? Because it did. There were a lot of things I didn't notice myself, and you guys mentioned, and it was really amazing to keep on opening those Russian dolls, as Selma said, and go deeper and deeper into the movie. Yeah, the movie is a celebration of script writing, and I'm very happy because that's what I'm mostly interested in movies. So yeah, what do you think about this session? What changed? Do you think that you like the movie even more after discussing it with everyone? Like, yeah, probably I should have thought about another movie for next time, but I didn't. I don't know if there is anyone here that is not with us on Instagram, because we are sharing like the news and the dates of live and everything on the Instagram. So the Instagram would be the same name as the YouTube channel, right on screen. And you will find movie suggestions in there, and you will find the next dates and everything. Sarah, you're fine. You're my sister. I can just like send it to you, send you all the information. It's okay. Sarah here actually, like, she told me that she made an Instagram just for me, like, to follow right on screen and everything we've done, and then she never could. So doing it, I had like, I had her as priority of like having her with us today, because we actually talked about a lot of stuff. We talked about the Joker, for example, from the perspective of psychology and the movie, and it takes hours for us to talk about stuff from the psychological perspective. So yeah, it's always interesting to have her with us. So yeah, there is a lot of new stuff I didn't know about that was talked about today. Great. I'm happy. 4 hours exactly. Yeah, we were talking about 4 hours. Yeah, we have very important, like, interesting conversations. So I don't know if I can suggest a movie that is as strong and informative as this one. Honestly, I put the bar too high. So I don't know, you guys, if you want us to do another movie session. I was thinking about doing something about something more commercial, now that I'm thinking about it, that people would have seen already and would feel engaged more rather than smart films. So I was thinking maybe we can actually talk about Joker. I really think it's an interesting, important film to discuss next time, and we can have more people join us. And Joker for me is a movie that changed the game. It is a movie that is commercial, but it has different layers into it as well. That would be very interesting to discuss. And I've seen people who hated the movie, and I personally loved the movie. And I would like to have discussion with people who hated the movie. If you a guy hated the movie, let me know. That would be interesting to talk about stuff. So I don't know if you guys think Joker is a good idea. Let me know. Joker changed the world. I saw a scene of Joker in USA Manifestation. That was my, yeah, with whatever is going on right now. When I saw it, I was like, I thought about two things. I thought about Mr. Robot, and I thought about Joker. And in that sense, both of them have the same theme and approach to the world. And that was very nice to see, at least for me. That's like just my political perspective of things. V for Vendetta. Yeah, I thought about V for Vendetta as well, but V for Vendetta felt more, how to say, the fact that we don't really know Vendetta as a person. I see that I think that is the difference between Joker and Vendetta, is that they have the same theme for sure, but the way that we don't see how Vendetta came to exist and who he is and his backstory, it just doesn't give that impression of like that person who's coming from the people to talk to the people. It feels, I mean, especially with the like classical music thing and the way he's like so sophisticated as a person, and in that sense, it's I'm not saying that I don't like the movie or I don't like the character. He is an icon, and he started the whole idea of that. And probably Joker wouldn't exist if there wasn't V for Vendetta, and it didn't have the success that it did. But yeah, when you use classical, like characters that like classical musics, usually in films, it gives that high class idea in a way. And for me, it was just a self-righteous character rather than just, here to act as a hero. So what I really liked about Joker is that he didn't even have it in his mind. Like, he didn't really do it for the people. Like, he wouldn't think that people would follow him. He just did it being himself. And that's what ended up with people idealizing him. And that's what I really liked. So, especially with the writing right now. Yeah. This related to current events now. So that's all for next time. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we can have a discussion of V for Vendetta is based on comics too, like the Joker, but never had the chance to watch it. I'm not sure that the Joker is based on comics. I mean, it is a comic. Oh my god, I don't want to talk about it right now. You're just triggering me, guys. It is coming from the word of comics, but it is not a comic story. Actually, Joker never had a real story in that sense, and he had different ones. When I heard that like they're gonna make a movie about Joker, I was like, God damn it! That kind of ruins the character in the comics, because what makes the character in the comics great is that he has no backstory, and he's that psycho that like you get to pin anything on him. And in the movie of, the Tim Burton version, God damn it, the Batman movie, Dark Knight. You know how he's always Heath Ledger is actually like, not the Tim Burton. I'm sorry, not the Tim Burton. It's the Christopher Nolan. Was it Christopher Nolan? Oh man, I'm mixed in my head. Anyway, the one that Heath Ledger acted in, and he keeps on like giving different stories of how he got his cars, and that's what made the character very appealing. So the idea of a Joker having a definite movie with a definite story, I was like, okay, which version they're gonna take and why? Or maybe they would just put all together. And I was very skeptical about it, but I think they did it perfectly, in the sense that like you get an actual backstory that can be basically anyone. It's not, doesn't have to be Joker. It just happens to be Joker. And here it happens to relate to the comics. And I actually talked about this with Sarah, in the sense that like we are we get to as an audience who doesn't know Batman and who doesn't know Joker, they still get a great story out of it. But then when you actually know Batman as a character and you know Joker, just gives way more layers into it, and it makes it interesting. So yeah, Christian. I think, was it Christian Bale who was the actor of Batman in there? I guess so. Yeah. So I suggest Detachment to maybe for another time. Yeah, Detachment is an important and underrated movie. Yeah, maybe we can just like do it that way. It's just like have one life about commercial, known yet interesting films, and um, yeah, underrated movies. So we can like alternate between the two, because the idea is also to get more people to appreciate films, and yeah, I think that maybe talking about the Joker would definitely, if someone just liked the Joker for the sake of it, they would know that there are like more layers into it, and we can just have some sort of comparison, maybe with V for Vendetta if you want. You just let me know. I prefer underrated. Yeah, I know. This is why I made a a video about underrated movies, because I really think there are a lot of underrated movies. But if you talk to people about underrated movies, people who are already appreciating underrated movies, you don't really make them popular or appreciated. So I really want to get more people involved and on board in that sense. So yeah, okay. Maybe I will have some sort. I'm really, it's like a lot of choices in here. Maybe I will have some sort of vote on the Instagram, or we can just. Okay, you know what? For this time, let's have the experience and go with Joker. If you want to see it again, look up more stuff to talk about. I know that Sarah has a lot to say about Joker, that can actually, because that was like, she was my number one go-to when I finished the film. And I was like, just watch it. I need to talk about this with you on the psychological level. So I think she can add a lot to the movie in that sense. So we can have an interesting conversation. Atonement. Yes, Atonement. Oh my God. Okay. Damn it. Yeah, we will have a list of the movies we're gonna talk about. But yeah, let's go with the Joker this time. And I'm gonna announce it earlier. And now that I'm free, we're gonna have more. Yeah, I'm gonna firm about it. The homework is Joker. I don't care. No, because I really think that it's something that is we can just build on. So I'm not being a dictator or anything. So yeah, we can do this more often now that I'm free. I hope you guys are free as well. I know it's not lockdown anymore, but we still can go on with our little club. I didn't. One Cut of the Dead. I still haven't. I'm very sorry. I'm really, really sorry. It's just, yeah, I was planning also to watch it today, but yeah, I couldn't today. I just had stuff to deal with, and yeah. But I will watch it, and I will let you know what I think. And okay, promise we're gonna talk about it next time. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, keep the meta movies coming, guys. I'm taking like a detox like period now after my essay, but yeah, there are a lot. Okay, now I'm thinking about it. There are a lot of movies to talk about. God damn it! Yeah, but not the psychological ones. Okay, yeah. You mentioned that it's about making a horror film or something like that. A zombie film. It's yeah. Okay. So I think we're done for today. We've been together for 2 hours, 35, 36 minutes. That was amazing. That was very informative. Thank you all for being part of this. Again, let me know. You have the Instagram to contact me. Let me know if you want to do something extra, if you want to change something, if you want to improve something. Being on YouTube was your suggestion, like it was Tark's suggestion, I guess. Thank you for that. Some recommendations for next time. The Lodge. I think I've heard of it. Write it down. That would be my homework. So, The Lodge. Yeah. Pleased to meet all of you. Thank you, Sarah. Pleased to meet you, Sarah. That's my older sister over there. She's super cool. And yeah, thank you all for being constantly here and supporting this. I really, really enjoy doing this with you guys. You are amazing. You are amazing. I really love being part of it. It's better on YouTube, at least it doesn't cut every hour. Yeah. Well, what I liked about the Instagram is that you could have just jumped in and talked with me in that sense. But yeah, I see what you mean. And it is just like you click on the link and you're just like there without any problem. But yeah. Thank you, Tyler. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I really love your passion. It's just, I really love your passion, all of you. It's just, thank you for allowing me to share like my love for cinema and TV series with you. So yeah, we'll try to do this sooner. Maybe it can be like once a week, and that'd be nice. Spread the word to any people you think that'd be interested into doing this with us, so we can keep things going. And the more we have, the more readings of movies we get. And if you want to if you want to do extra curriculum thingies, last time Tarek suggested that we talk about my short film. I still feel weird saying that. It's like my short film that I directed in my studies. We can do that as well. So let me know if you come up with any of the ideas. And until then, stay passionate, stay great, be yourself, and remember, you are what you love and not who loves you. Rest in peace, Donald, and thank you for that lesson. So, yeah, Tara, I hope we'll get to do that. See you. Thank you. Bye.